Wildcats against the top-seeded Duke Blue Devils, the East Regional Final. The winner goes on to join Indiana in the Final Four. Duke defeated Seton Hall here on Thursday night, while Kentucky got past the third-seeded UMass Minutemen. Good evening once again, everybody. I'm Vern Lundquist, and welcome to the Spectrum, this marquee matchup between two teams with historical greatness in college basketball. 2,936 victories between them, 6 national champions, the most recent of which was Duke's a year ago. Duke is trying to win its 5th spot in a row to get into the Final Four, and UCLA currently holds the record of 10. Cincinnati has been there, or was there, 5 times in a row. Duke trying to go back for the 5th time, and of course also trying to repeat as a national champion for the first time since UCLA accomplished that last in 1973. I'm joined by Len Elmore. Len, we have talked about the pressure of Kentucky in this ball game, and in this case, I think it's both mental and physical.
Well, certainly the physical aspect of it is they've got to go out there and pressure all over the floor to create those turnovers and to throw Duke out of their rhythm. They also want to fatigue them, so going into the second half, they believe they have a chance. The mental side of it, though, is as Sean Woods, the senior Kentucky guard, said, they have to remember they're not playing the defending champions. They have to play this game to get to the championship.
Kentucky comes in with a 29-6 record, a senior-dominated team, but they focus on the spotlight on a sophomore, Jamal Mashburn. And for the Duke Blue Devils, a senior-dominated team as well, and they have a star, a 3-time All-American in Kristen Leitner.
And Vern, I like to talk about these guys as being the big men of the 90s. They combined a physical presence inside with a soft touch and three-point range outside. Now, I think these guys transcend the traditional big man, and they're just basketball players, nothing more, nothing less.
Let's check the starting lineups for both Kentucky and Duke now. First of all, for the Wildcats of Kentucky, they start Mashburn, Pelfrey, Martinez, Sean Woods, and Richie Farmer. And for the Blue Devils of Duke, Antonio Lang, who had 16 Thursday night, Brian Davis, Christian Leitner, Thomas Hill, and Bobby Hurley, who may be the key to this ball game in his ability to break the press. The officiating crew, Tim Higgins from Ramsey, New Jersey, Charles Range from Fremont, California, and Tom Clark from Sharonville, Ohio. Kentucky comes in as the number 2 seed, of course. They won the SEC tournament by blasting Alabama in the final. In the NCAAs, they ousted Old Dominion and Iowa State and held off UMass here on Thursday night. And for Mike Krzyzewski's Blue Devils of Duke, the number 1 seed, they ousted Campbell, then Iowa, and defeated Seton Hall 81-69 here on Thursday night. Leitner and Martinez will jump it up. Thomas Hill for Duke.
Kentucky has opened up in a 2-3 zone. You see the 2 guys up around the top of the key. 3 guys along the back line, primarily to slow Duke's offensive game down, force them to beat them from outside.
Sean Woods with a steal. Right side, Mashburn. Too hard, but he comes down with a rebound. Pelfrey for 3. And here's the Kentucky pressure. Now they drop back. Let's see if they set up in the zone again. Surprised?
No, I'm not. They showed pressure, recognizing that Duke would be ready for it, but I expect Kentucky to change defenses. Again, trying to keep Duke off balance.
Reach-in foul on Mashburn, his first, team first.
See, one of the things coaches in the tournament like to do is to continually change, because they know most of these coaches are great preparation guys. And if you can throw enough at them where they can't prepare for everything, you hope to keep the good teams off balance and maybe generate some rhythm of your own.
Hurley keeps it outside, takes the jumper, top of the key. Antonio Lang off the glass. It's 3-2 Kentucky.
The other thing Kentucky wants to do, they want Bobby Hurley to shoot the ball. He's much more dangerous penetrating, dishing to his teammates.
Hurley has improved as a shooter in this his junior year. Sean Woods for 2. The 3-year starter at point guard for Kentucky. Pelfrey steals it, but he was on the line. But an example of the aggression of this Kentucky defense, the senior John Pelfrey.
Kentucky certainly, again, wants to play a full-court game. They don't want to get stuck in playing half-court and having to match up man-to-man, because in that case, they're going to be in big trouble. But they want to control that full-court game. They want to run when they want to run, not allow Duke to beat them in transition.
Brian Davis to Hurley. Underneath Leitner, he was being fronted by Mashburn, and he gets the basket. Christian Leitner now 8 points away from surpassing Elvin Hayes as the all-time leading scorer in NCAA tournament history. And as Christian said, that's because he's played a lot of games.
Yeah, but he didn't say he's played a lot of games, a lot of quality games as well. Pretty modest, humble guy.
Martinez can't get it to go. Hurley with the rebound. Duke quickly down the court. Thomas Hill hit as he lets it go. Pelfrey with the foul, and Hill will shoot the free throw.
See, what Duke is trying to do is push the ball up court as quickly as possible, not allowing the zone to get set. And the way they move the ball, they're going to find some openings, particularly inside. They've got a big guy who catches very well and does a lot of good things in a crowd.
Indiana is in. They will go to Minneapolis. Bob Knight and one of his proteges, Mike Krzyzewski, trying to join him. Here's that list for Christian Leitner. Elvin Hayes, those 358 points for the University of Houston in 13 games. Christian Leitner playing in his 21st. Duke up by 1, 6-5.
Defensively, Duke is really not going to do anything different. They make it tough on you passing the ball around the perimeter. They like to deny the wings.
Pelfrey, that's 2 3-pointers. Now, the other night in the win against UMass, Kentucky hit only 3 of 15 from 3-point range, and they are known, of course, as a 3-point shooting ball club.
Well, against UMass, they never really established a rhythm to shoot the threes. They were content getting the ball into Jamal Mashburn, who did a great job.
Jamel Martinez goes for the steal, gets it, and then draws the foul.
We talked about Duke breaking the pressure and then attacking. But as we see them get the ball in bounds, you know, Kentucky does a nice job of slowing the attack. Hurley doesn't get the ball. Now it forces Duke to use passing to beat the pressure rather than dribbling.
Back on the court, Pelfrey with a good fake. Mashburn for 3. They have now equaled the number of 3-point baskets they scored in that game against UMass.
See, in contrast to the UMass game, as I mentioned, this game they've established a 3-point shooting rhythm. Dribble, penetration, and dish.
Leitner flashes across, and Pelfrey gets the foul. That's his second. And we'll see if Rick Pitino sits him down. Yes, he will. So Darren Feldhaus, one of the 4 seniors who stuck with this program, comes into the lineup, an outstanding 6th man for Kentucky, averaging over 11 points per game. And John Pelfrey, who is the emotional leader of the Kentucky team.
I guess so.
Yes, I guess. Well, he's the vocal leader as well.
Well, what Kentucky loses with Pelfrey on the bench is obviously that emotion on the floor, but Pelfrey's a great ball handler, great passer for a guy his size. He recognizes situations on the floor.
Terrific pass. And the basket by Leitner, 11-8. Feldhaus calling for the ball. Martinez playing out, trying to draw Leitner away from the basket. Now Woods and Hurley. Sean Woods goes by Hurley, sees Leitner, pulls up and hits it short. And here is Duke in transition. Leitner. Here's Kentucky quickly at the other end.
Well, that transition basket was Kentucky's biggest concern. You know, they're not a strong rebounding team. They're going to have to be able to keep the ball alive on the offensive glass, or at least cover back against that break.
Martinez, long rebound. Leitner or Martinez. It's going to be Kentucky's ball. Time has been called.
There is a timeout on the floor. Number 30.
We talked about the seams against the zone as we see Kentucky up by 1. Here's Christian Laettner. Watch him hold his position until there's an opening, and Bobby Hurley sees it. You see Mashburn step out. There's the seam. Excellent play by both players. Excellent example of patience.
11-10 Kentucky. Richie Farmer, jump shot, got it. Lead is back to 3, 13-10. Bobby Hurley having trouble with it. Taken away by Sean Woods. See if he goes all the way over Grant Hill. He does. Grant Hill in off the bench. The sixth man now. Late in the season, a foul called on Sean Woods.
Well, right away, we see Bobby Hurley as a focal point of this Kentucky defense, particularly in the pressure. You know, he's going to see 2 and 3 guys all game because they realize how dangerous he is if you don't pressure him. He's able to pick out people very easily.
4 turnovers to 1. A Kentucky team that averages 10 steals per game. And they have been a menacing defense here early on. There's the triple team on Laettner. No problem.
It's a triple team, but Laettner smartly turns baseline where there is no help, no defender, and he has an open shot. For him, it's open.
Martinez. Good screen by Martinez. The pass into Feldhouse, and they quickly come back and reset. Woods. Rick Pitino said yesterday one of the keys to the season for Kentucky, Sean Woods, the 3-year starter, who realized after some difficulty early in the year that he was not primarily a scorer and has become a floor leader and point guard. Thomas Hill short. Hit back. 2-on-2. And Farmer gets it back and finds Feldhouse. Mashburn. Martinez. 4 3-point baskets for Kentucky. And an 8-point lead.
Kentucky's able to control the tempo. Defensively, they play that zone. It slows the Duke offense down. But offensively, they create fast break situations for themselves with the pressure. They want to run when they want to run.
Only once this year has Duke been behind in double digits. That was on the road at Clemson, and they came back and won it. Davis, 3. Grant Hill rebound. Got it.
Hey, I'll tell you something. There's not a whole lot you can do with a guy with the athletic skill of a Grant Hill except put your body on him and make him jump over you. That time Kentucky didn't do any of that.
Laettner gets his hands up and is fouled. Richie Farmer draws the foul.
We talked about Kentucky's problem rebounding here. One of the reasons is in the zone, there are too many openings, as I mentioned, too many seams to which an offensive player can run and almost uncontestedly get possession of the ball.
Travis Ford, who spent a year at the University of Missouri because Kentucky didn't want him, and then with a coaching change transferred, sat out, and is now in the lineup, number 5. Laettner. 3-pointer, Thomas Hill. And an 8-point lead has been cut down to 3 and a chance to narrow it even more. Here's the transition game of Duke again. Blocking foul. Martinez.
Duke is just so quick in transition, no wasted motion at all, and they're constantly looking forward. You see Grant Hill with the finish. Kentucky, if they cannot get on the offensive board, keep the ball alive and slow that break down, they're going to have to shoot 100%.
Free throw is good, and we're tied. Ford and Mashburn, Martinez, Feldhouse, and Dale Brown has also come in. He's got the ball now, number 31. Air ball. Duke with a chance to reclaim the lead. Hits Laettner in the back of the head. Brown's got it. Goes by Hurley. Brian Davis has it. Travis Ford has it. 3-on-1. Thomas Hill defending. Dale Brown. The putback is good. Mashburn.
I tell you, Travis Ford, that was some steal on Bobby Hurley. It wasn't from behind, it was face up. Still, the defensive pressure is giving Duke some problems when they have to face it.
6 Duke turnovers now in the game, 22-20. Zone defense again by Kentucky. Brown and Ford out. Hurley with the shot. Got it. 3 points.
And I think Rick Pitino can live with Bobby Hurley shooting the ball. They've got to do a better job, though, on watching Leitner and some of the other guys who Hurley finds.
Duke trailed by 8 a couple of minutes ago. Now they lead by 1.
You know, what Kentucky has done, though, by trying to make this a transition game for them offensively, they've taken Jamal Mashburn out of the game.
Brown. That's going to be Kentucky's ball. 11:29 to go, first half.
Back in the Spectrum where Duke has just taken the lead. 2 nights ago here there was a technical knockout when UMass coach John Calipari was called for being out of the coach's box. Well, the coaches tonight were concerned where exactly is that coach's box, so they put extra tape down to ensure that the coaches know where the boundary is. Now Mike Krzyzewski says it's all right with him, he doesn't wander much, but Rick Pitino has promised not to do his boogaloo down the sideline past that line. Vern, we expect you and Lenny to stay in the announcer's box.
As long as you're keeping guard, Les, we will. Shot clock is about off. It did expire. Tim Higgins is checking now. Wait a minute. The shot clock shows 0. Horn never went. And the conversation continues.
See the shot clock at the top starting at 5. And no one was aware of what went on.
Well, the key is how much time was when the ball went out of bounds before the timeout was called, and that was a television timeout. And Pitino's not, Krzyzewski's happy, but Pitino's not. Well, the shot clock has expired. And Duke inbounds. Hill gets his own basket, rebound.
Well, Jamal Mashburn is guarding Grant Hill. He was taken off on the fast break rather than blocking Hill off.
Here's Hurley. Oh, boy. Grant Hill from Bobby Hurley.
Kentucky with the open floor turnovers, giving Duke the opportunity to run.
And that ends a 15-2 Duke run. Antonio Lang is down. Injury time.
Ankle time. It was before. Relax. Tony, sit up.
Medical staff is out on the floor. Just to clarify that, prior to the television timeout, the ball had gone out of bounds, so there's no reset of the clock, and it was just a matter of how much time remaining. Here's the injury to Lang.
Looked as though he came down again on that ankle. We'll have another chance to take a look at it. He comes from the right of your screen, and it's his right ankle, and you can tell that he twisted it.
And Antonio Lang has been one of the real standouts in the latter part of the season for the Duke Blue Devils. Here's Hurley to Hill.
And this is why Kentucky would rather see Bobby Hurley shoot it than distribute it, because he's so much more dangerous as a playmaker than he is as a scorer.
Hey, heard Digger Phelps say before the game began he thought Hurley might get double-digit assists tonight. He's got 5, but he's also got 4 turnovers in the game. The other night, he had 7 assists and 6 turnovers in the win over Seton Hall. Here's Grant Hill. Cherokee Parks, who's also in the ball game. And that'll be Kentucky's ball. Let's reset those who are on the court. We'll do that in just a second. Indiana advanced. Big win over UCLA, and they will take on the winner of this game in the semifinals in Minneapolis last week.
Just to further amplify on the point about Bobby Hurley and double-figure assists, if he does that, then Duke's going to win this game in a runaway. Kentucky's got to do a better job of sealing off the outlets and forcing Bobby to shoot the ball. That was their plan.
Richie Farmer with that last 3-pointer. Here's Hill, Cherokee Parks. Kentucky partisans asking for a traveling call. They don't get one. 29-27.
I think they wanted something. Rick Pitino was asking. It had to be some kind of call because of the contact.
Word from Leslie Visser that Antonio Lang a slightly twisted ankle, but he should be able to get back. Pelfrey back in with his 2 fouls. Entry pass denied by Cherokee Parks. Here's Hurley. Davis. Sean Woods with the foul.
Well, on that last play that resulted in a turnover by Kentucky, they're trying to establish Jamal Mashburn. He's got 5 points, including a 3-pointer, but I think Kentucky's going to have to do a better job. They've established their 3-point shooting ability. They're going to have to start looking for more of those to open it up, to get it to this guy, because he's the guy that's brought them to this point. And if you don't establish him, you're not going to be able to play the type of game that's allowed you to get here into the East Regional Final.
Mike Krzyzewski said of Jamal Mashburn, I think he's one of the top 10 players in the country right now as a sophomore.
And you can tell by that last defensive play, 3 people on him, that he certainly has Duke's attention.
Ryan Davis for another. Now Thomas Hill will check back in for the senior Brian Davis. Leitner and Parks, Davis and Grant Hill, Hurley and Thomas Hill for Duke, Travis Ford, Pelfrey, Martinez, Farmer, and Mashburn for Kentucky.
I think it's even more important right now to establish Mashburn because he's got Leitner on him.
Thomas Hill or Leitner, who got it? Hill.
See, Duke is going big right now. They've got Cherokee Parks and Christian Leitner out on the floor, and that allows Leitner to have to guard Mashburn, and Mashburn, with his outside ability, his agility, is going to have to find a way to get isolated and put a lot of pressure on Leitner.
That is only the 2nd team foul on Duke. Pelfrey. Leitner with a rebound off Farmer's missed 3-pointer. 8:40 remaining first half. Largest lead of the game, 8. That by Kentucky. Right now, Duke is up by 4. Early shot no good. Parks with a tip no good. From the corner, Mashburn with the tip. Pelfrey steals the Leitner pass. Mashburn.
That had to be something there.
And no call, but Mashburn does get 2.
You know, when there's contact on the shot, either the offensive player has gone beyond the vertical line that's his, or that's a foul.
Thomas Hill from Grant Hill. That's for 2.
Duke is doing a great job of moving the ball. You know, Kentucky has had to go from side to side to side, and Duke constantly looking for that seam.
Cherokee Parks gets called for the foul. That's his first. Third team foul. Time called, 7:30 to go, first half.
As we see Duke up by 4, you take a look at Jamal Mashburn. He's the guy in a half-court game that makes those Kentucky three-point shots so much easier. He's workmanlike inside. They've got to be able to continue to establish him, make him a threat to keep that Duke defense honest.
Statistical standoff between the two early in the first half of the game. 33-29. Farmer and Mashburn. Travis Ford, Pelfrey, Jamil Martinez. Pick and roll. Ford takes the shot. No. Bobby Hurley, 5 assists thus far in the ballgame. Of course, played against his brother Danny in the game against Seton Hall, so this one would be a lot easier. Leitner now has 10 points. He has become the all-time leading scorer in NCAA basketball tournament history. And the lead is 6.
Duke doing a nice job of denying, particularly Mashburn, up until that point. Lang was all over him.
Reach-in foul. Spectrum in Philadelphia filled the capacity, which is just short of 18,000 on hand for this meeting in the East Regional Final. The top 2 seeds advanced, the Duke Blue Devils and the Kentucky Wildcats, 35-29. Duke jumped out to, rather fell behind 20-12. But they have been on a roll since then, and they're now up by 6.
Well, it's been a game where both teams were able to show what their strengths are. Kentucky first with their three-point shooting and their pressure, and Duke comes back with their fast break as well as good outside.
Good hustle for the ball by Mashburn, and he is fouled by Antonio Lang, who's back in the lineup.
Well, I tell you, this matchup, Lang against Mashburn, is no contest because of the strength and quickness inside of Mashburn. Duke is going to be exploited unless they put someone else who's got some type of better quickness or the same type of strength as Mashburn to deal with him inside.
Second foul on Lang. 15th foul on Duke. Woods, nope. Chases down his own loose ball, puts it up and in. Sean Woods with 10 points to lead all Kentucky scorers now. Defensive job by Kentucky. Hurley penetrates. Foul is on Martinez, his second. Well, we're going to have an all-great Midwest final in the Midwest tomorrow. Cincinnati and Memphis State, and an all Big Ten final in the Southeast. Ohio State and Michigan. Boy, 2 great games last night.
They certainly were. A great battle between Michigan and Oklahoma State. I'll tell you one thing, those Michigan young players, again, they play without the pressure. They come out there and expect you to play basketball. And with them, all they really look at is the fact that, hey, if we don't win it this year, we've got 3 more years to win it. And that's a great feeling when you go into a tournament like this.
Bobby Hurley misses the first. Darren Feldhaus back into the lineup for Kentucky, number 12, and he'll inbound the ball. 5-point lead, 36-31, 5:20 to go. First half, winner goes into the Final Four, where they take on Indiana next week in Minneapolis. Woods, no. Nice pass. Oh. And the cut from Grant Hill, 2 points.
And against the zone, poor communication from the top guys to the bottom guys. Too easy to get it into the teeth of that zone.
Grant Hill got a slow start off the bench in that game against Seton Hall. He's got 11 in the first half already. Well, there's the answer at the other end. Pelfrey for 2, and he'll shoot a third. Bobby Hurley with a foul.
We're going to take a look against the zone. You see from the right side of your screen, here comes Grant Hill, and nobody was aware of that cut. What Duke has done is spread that zone. Kentucky, by the same token, they've been using a lot of picks up at the top, the free cutters. And once again, lack of communication by the guy who's guarding the picker.
Antonio Lang back in for Duke. And John Pelfrey at the line. These two teams have met 15 previous times. Kentucky's won 10, but Duke has won the last 3 of them. Most recent was in 1988 when Pelfrey and Farmer, and there's a steal.
That should have been backcourt, because I think Grant Hill was on, his foot was in the backcourt before he let it go.
Foul before the basket at the other end.
And that's what Rick Pitino was asking about. Grant Hill attempted to save that ball, and I thought his foot had hit the ground. Now we'll see again before he let it go. You see him over the front court. Now he jumps to make the pass, and he just gets it away. That was pretty darn close. And Christian Laettner, the same thing. And I think Rick Pitino was questioning whether or not there was backcourt. And it doesn't go Kentucky's way, and it comes into a foul.
And John Pelfrey picks up his third, so he'll rest now with 4:27 to go. Laettner chases down the loose ball, hit it last, Kentucky ball.
You know, it's at different points during this game where Duke seems to have the pressure solved, and then suddenly they have a lot of trouble in getting it up. And that's going to tell on them in the second half if this game stays close. The fatigue factor that Kentucky wants when they utilize the press.
Coming up at the half, Billy Packer and Al McGuire in a two-way conversation. Martinez. 38-36. Hill, Davis, Pretty. Basket counts. Foul is called on Mashburn. And the Cameron crazies erupt in the Spectrum.
Now, if you're a Duke fan, this is more like it. Kentucky had been successful in pressuring Duke, getting back defensively, and not allowing breaks like this. But we talked about getting the ball to a decision maker and then kicking it out for an advantage, and that's what Duke did. That's what you call attacking the pressure.
Rick Pitino is not getting the answers he wanted.
Well, Rick Pitino again was asking where was the foul by Mashburn. He thought Mashburn had just run by Davis rather than made any contact. Davis
with 5 points now, 41-36. Under 4 minutes to go before halftime. Dale Brown is in the lineup, number 31, Feldhouse. Woods and Mashburn, along with Martinez. 15 on the shot clock. Feldhouse. Lang to Hurley. Duke in transition. Kentucky hurries back. But they can't stop Davis in the corner. The tip is good. Lang for 2. And the lead is 7. Oh, brother, what a pass. Sean Woods rifled the ball to Mashburn.
See, here's the situation where Kentucky had gotten back forced to Duke now, rather than get a quick break to set up in their offense.
Quick hands of Sean Woods, but Grant Hill gets it back. Almost thrown away. Lang saved it. 10 on the shot clock. Traveling. turnovers for the Blue Devils, but they still lead by 5. Time call. Takes teamwork to win in the NCAA.
I think that might be a new Olympic event, synchronized pom-pomming. right on the beat.
2:13 to go before halftime. Christian Leitner with 10 points thus far in the first half. Look at the field goal percentage. Duke, the top team shooting percentage in the country, just under 54%.
There are a sizable number of layups in that 71% for Duke. They've been able to take those open floor turnovers and convert.
Dale Brown. And Kentucky is now 6 of 11 from three-point range. And they cut the margin to 2. Earlier today, Indiana ousted UCLA. Grant Hill. Duke ball. Coming up tomorrow, Memphis State against Cincinnati. And then the second game, Michigan, Ohio State. Rematches in both cases.
And how about that for a first year in a conference, the Great Midwest? They've got 2 teams battling to get one into the Final Four.
Boy, Cincinnati basketball has really been revived under Bob Huggins. Tim Higgins makes the call from out in the corner, and he got Sean Woods or Dale Brown. It's Dale Brown, his first foul. That is the 11th team foul. And again, Duke 74% from the free throw line. They are an outstanding free throw shooting team. There's that final. Bob Knight's team in to the Final Four. Mike Krzyzewski, who played under Bob Knight, trying to join his mentor back in Minneapolis. Kentucky, by the way, I heard Billy Packer say last night that Kentucky had won the last NCAA championship played in Minneapolis. Sent me diving for the reference books. 51. They beat Kansas State by 10. Game was in the 60s. 1:21 to go before halftime. Billy and Al McGuire coming up at halftime. 45-41. Underneath. Grant Hill gets called for this foul.
Well, Grant Hill really didn't have anything else to do but grab on that. Mashburn had beaten him cleanly. And Kentucky doing a nice job now of setting up the Duke defenders, the aggressive Duke defenders, by setting back picks, going back door. That's how you use a defensive team's aggression against them.
Aminu Timberlake comes in now for Kentucky, number 25. Martinez will get a rest. And Travis Ford, number 5, comes in for Sean Woods. And in the meantime, that is the 7th team foul against Duke. So Mashburn shoots 1 and 1. Look at the disparity in free throws already in the ballgame. Hill lost it. Brown is fouled by Grant Hill. His second foul. 8th team foul.
Well, obviously the import of this game would lead people to believe that that's why these two teams are hustling. But if you watch them all season, I don't care if it's the first game or the game to see who goes to the Final Four, you're going to see a Duke team and a Kentucky team. Those players get on the floor regardless. That's a good habit to be in.
Brown gets the first. Dale Brown at the line, who was born in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. Hey, I worked hard on this stuff. And I would imagine Dale Brown of LSU, who was a guest on the road to Final Four, is back in our New York studios watching.
You wonder if he tried to recruit Dale Brown in Kentucky?
Dale Brown came out of Gulf Coast Junior College down in Mississippi last year. 45-44, lead is 1, under a minute. This has been a good first half.
You talk about not seeing the hoop on that jump shot, but having perfect range. Thomas Hill, and that would be considered a fourth shot for Duke.
About a 3-second difference, shot clock and game clock. Down, no. Hurley hit from behind, foul called on Andre Riddick, number 10.
Last time down for Kentucky. A nice job of beating the defender by Dale Brown. Listen. I mean, there was a lot of umphing and a good thought by Brown, but you heard that clang in the iron. That's not supposed to happen on a dunk.
Marty Clark comes in now, number 3 for Duke. Sophomore from Western Springs, Illinois. And junior Brady, number 23, has checked in for Kentucky. Bobby Hurley at the free throw line. Got them both. And the 1-point lead is up to 6 with 24 seconds to go. Laettner, first foul. And Aminu Timberlake will go to the free throw line.
Well, unfortunately, the good news for Kentucky is that there was a foul. The bad news is that Timberlake has only been to the line 11 times during the regular season.
And how many did he hit?
3 for 11, 27%. So if you're wondering why Laettner would foul a guy out there, you certainly don't want to give him easy opportunities, but that might not be a bad foul. They get another crack at it on a low percentage free throw shooter.
Now, you want to go through all that again?
Not after he made it.
Indiana advanced with a big win over UCLA. They take on either Duke or Kentucky next Saturday in Minneapolis. 1 of 2. Laettner with the rebound. 10 seconds to go. Thomas Hill, offensive foul. And 3.8 seconds to go, Len.
And there goes my theory about getting the last crack at the basket. You know, Duke was going to try to trade, you know, maybe 3 for 2, and Timberlake missed the free throw, but they gave it right back.
The other night, Jim McCoy of UMass hit one from 70 feet with 3.8 seconds left. Here's Brady. Marty Clark rejects Travis Ford's shot as the horn sounds. And the number 1 seed leads the number 2 seed 5-5 at the half. Duke on top, 50-45. Time with our score: Duke 50, Kentucky 45. CBS Sports exclusive coverage of the NCAA Basketball Championship will continue after this message and a word from your local station.
Time they're still cheering out the East Regional Final. Duke and Kentucky, a 5-point game. Duke leads by 5. And hi again, everybody. I'm Pat O'Brien. I'm still Pat. He's still Mike. He's still Digger. And if I'm Rick Pitino, I got to feel pretty good going into the locker room here.
Well, Duke's 18 for 25 from the floor. So from that perspective, Kentucky has to feel good. A methodical 50 for Duke. I think Kentucky, Digger, has to watch that spurt. Duke hasn't had that big run yet, right out of box second half.
Kentucky surprises everybody. Comes out with a 2-3 zone, plays most of the half 2-3 zone. Look for Kentucky to go to the press quick to start. They need a spurt. but watch out for Duke's spurt.
Fellas, earlier this afternoon, Indiana became the first team to reach this year's Final Four, looking pretty good, too. Before the game, Indiana coach Bob Knight was embroiled in a controversy over a newspaper photo that showed him whipping one of his players, or pretending to. Local civil rights groups, while not accusing Knight of racism, did charge that the bullwhip symbolism showed a lack of sensitivity on his part, and they demanded an apology. Here's how Knight responded at his post-game press conference a few minutes ago.
What I need to apologize for is, I think, 18 black kids that have played 4 years for me, with 15 of them having a degree, with every black kid that has gone through his senior year with me really having a really good job and really being a very contributing member to society. Recruiting the first black kid to ever play at West Point. You know, those are the things I guess I need to apologize for. Who's got a question about the game?
And so they went in to talk about the game. By the way, the player in the newspaper picture was Calbert Cheney, who exacted a measure of playful revenge near the end of the game, and we saw that during the game. It was worth bringing that one back. Tomorrow, by the way, we'll finish cutting the field to the Final Four. Mike and yours truly will hit the road again at 1 o'clock Eastern time. Memphis State and Cincinnati tip it off at 1:42. Then the Fab Five meets Jimmy Jackson as Michigan and Ohio State square off at 4 o'clock Eastern in a Big Ten matchup there. The gentlemen with the best seats in the house tomorrow will be our analysts Billy Packer in Lexington and Al McGuire in Kansas City, and they join us for another installment of the Billy and Al Show. And first of all, Billy, I want you to listen again to the holy mackerel call at the end of the Georgia Tech USC game and give us your professional opinion of the call. Here's how it went.
Al was all over it.
Under the basket, under the basket. Up, Forrest shot. Holy mackerel! Holy mackerel! Holy mackerel!
What do you think?
First of all, he was all over it. Concise analysis there, Al. You put it under the basket. There wasn't even a man under the basket. What you want Geiger to do? To throw it away?
Hey, Al, you're learning.
You know, Al, you can't score if you throw the ball from out of bounds to the basket. If it goes in, it's not a basket. But you know, you're getting there.
Hey, Billy, I don't hold a clinic. I just deal with you emotionally.
You're learning quickly to cover up your announcer. Listen, guys, what did you think when you saw the Indiana game? Indiana looks pretty good, don't they, Al?
I think Indiana is playing as a team. They're sharing the ball. And Alan Henderson, he's a keeper. I like the way that he's clearing the boards and he's blocking shots. They'll be very difficult to beat. One of the big things, Pat, on this is that they lost their last game before coming into the big dance. That's very, very important. I feel they will have a banquet, but...
Billy?
Well, one of the things that I thought about watching that game was back at the game in Springfield early in the year. Fortunately for a coach like Bob Knight, and there are others around the United States, they have great security within their job. Therefore, early in the year, Bob Knight doesn't worry about a victory or a defeat. He didn't worry about that against UCLA. He didn't worry about that in the Kentucky game that we had earlier this year in Indianapolis, because he's got a progress that he's working towards the end of the year, which he knows is the all-encompassing Big Ten championship, if he can win it, and then, of course, the NCAA tournament. So the team that UCLA faced today was much different than the team that he put on the floor back in Springfield, even in the way he handled his team and prepared it for today's game and the way he substituted in today's game. So, unfortunately, a Bob Knight with great security in a much different position early in the year than, let's say, a Jim Herrick.
Hey, guys, I'd like to ask you, Al, especially. Al, you used to say the best thing about freshmen was they became sophomores. How about those Michigan freshmen tomorrow against Ohio State?
They're completely above the trees. It shocks me. I never thought that they'd be that good. I had them once this season, but they must keep Weber in the game. He must stay in the ball game. I feel that they're going to have serious problems tomorrow because Ohio State got J.J. J.J.'s a star, and it's awful hard to stop a star that way, and they will not be able to get into transition. They'll definitely take the transition away from Michigan.
Mike, when Al made that comment is when he first started coaching in 1927. Freshmen today at age 18 are nowhere near what they were back when Al coached. And what I see with this group, and these 5 young men this morning, by the way, were at a press conference. Maybe one of the classiest things you'd ever want to see of a group of 18-year-old kids responding to the press in the way that they did. Chris Webber being their leader in regard to not only the way he plays, but also as a spokesman. As quality a group of young kids that you'd ever want to see. And I think what makes them great is not only their native ability, but also how well they get along as a group and how well they are focused into what the job is at hand for the University of Michigan. Very high-quality kids.
We got to wrap this up.
I think, Billy, when they slip away and get down a little bit, they will not recover. I think that's their biggest problem in the game.
Al, we got to wrap this up. Billy took all your time, and I think because he's wearing a coat and tie, he thought he could take most of the time here. Thank you both. We'll see you tomorrow. Have a good time, okay?
Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Al McGuire and GQ, Billy Packer. We'll see them tomorrow. Right now, the road to the Final Four continues after this. Stay with us.
The Devils getting ready to retake the court. We'll return to Philadelphia after this message and a word from your local station. You're watching CBS Sports exclusive coverage of the NCAA Basketball Championship. Philadelphia right now. Let's check in with Leslie Visser.
Vern, the folks from Kentucky are glad to be within 5 points. They'd like to do a better job both getting back in transition and also on the offensive boards where they got killed. They'd also like to see Feldhaus set some screens for Pelfrey. Maybe he wants to be nominated for Best Screenplay. Vern?
Ba-dum-bump. Ba-dum-bump. Well, Rick Pitino said, if our press does not work, we won't win.
Well, certainly they've had good success. Watch Grant Hill, number 33, come straight down the middle of the floor. Here he is right here. Oh, got him on that one, but he's got the ball. And again, an advantage situation. Duke hasn't had enough of those. They've had some trouble against the pressure.
It'll be Mashburn. Feldhaus will start. Woods, Martinez, and Farmer. Pelfrey stays on the bench with 3 fouls for Kentucky. Here's Richie Farmer trying to find a teammate underneath, and instead it's picked off, and Davis at the other end is fouled and goes down hard. Martinez with him. Duke torrid at the half. 72% in the first half. Kentucky, not bad, 50% for the first half of play. And turnovers, 11 for Kentucky, leading to 15 points, 5 leading to 5.
And that just leads Kentucky to believe that the pressure will bother Duke, and that's why they've stayed with it despite some of the advantage breaks that they've got.
Mashburn and Leitner both in double figures, and Brian Davis at the line. Davis saying yesterday, of course, he's a senior co-captain and a roommate of Christian Leitner. They asked him about his role as a defensive specialist. He said, I think the media has made me into a defensive specialist. I prefer to think of myself as a player who can play defense.
Well, certainly Brian Davis is an excellent defensive player, but he's gotten that label because up until this year, he really never developed an offensive game, and the offensive side of his game has really shown in this last couple of months. He's really been a threat.
6-point edge. Duke up. Farmer, scoop shot, short, foul by Davis. Second foul on Davis. Richie Farmer will go to the line where he's shooting 84%. Richie Farmer along with Pelfrey, Feldhaus, and to a degree Sean Woods, kind of symbolic of the resurgence of this Kentucky program. Grew up listening to Kaywood Ledford on the radio in Kentucky. All of his life wanted to play there. He said yesterday with a bit of a southern accent, I've been a big blue fan from birth.
With emphasis. But again, a question of loyalty. And you like to see that in college basketball, and the game has been maligned for a lot of the actions by players and alumni. You know, these guys stuck with their team. There's no question about it, and it's paid dividends.
Thomas Hill back to Hurley. 51-46, 5-point lead. Kentucky in that 2-3 zone. Got a reach-in foul. Cheapy. Not the most flagrant violation you will ever see.
No, it didn't really give an advantage to the defensive player. But they're being called, and calls like that have been consistent.
Farmer picks up the foul. His It's Woods instead, and that's his third. Sean Woods got it, not Farmer. So 3 fouls for Sean Woods. It would have been Farmer's second. Hurley. Yes. Hurley's got 9. And the lead is 8. Thomas Hill fouls Farmer. That's 3 fouls on Thomas Hill. He's the first Duke player to go to 3.
You know, Kentucky's plan in making Bobby Hurley shoot the ball might work, provided they get him off of those spots that he loves so much. And from a 3-point shot, the spot that's straight on to the basket, directly in front of the basket, that's one of the easier 3-point shots. It's a lot more difficult when you have to shoot it from an angle. And you got to make Bobby Hurley move off of those spots. He's a good offensive player, but if you leave him some daylight at that spot, he's going to kill you.
Richie Farmer gets the first of 2. Grant Hill into the lineup replacing Thomas Hill. And tomorrow, Cincinnati, Memphis State, the 4 and 6 seeds. That tip at 1:42 Eastern, and then Ohio State, Michigan tomorrow at 4 o'clock Eastern time. Indiana already in the Final 4. And Duke and Kentucky trying to join them. Winner of this game gets Indiana next Saturday in Minneapolis. Dale Brown back in the lineup for Kentucky now. Here's the pressure.
Once again, a nice job by Kentucky to get back, not allow the advantage break situation, and to set their zone all in one movement.
Martinez guarding Leitner. And they call the foul on Martinez. That's his 4th. He has had foul problems throughout the year. And now they've got to pull Martinez with 4 and put in Pelfrey, who's playing with 3.
Well, it's almost like it's a self-fulfilling prophecy. Yesterday, Rick Pitino was asked about the matchup between Martinez and Christian Leitner and what he thought Martinez would do. And he said one thing he certainly would do would be fouling. And he said that in jest. But it's come to pass.
And not funny today. 54-48. Alley-oop. Grant Hill was out of bounds when he made contact with the ball.
And I'll tell you, that's a miscommunication throughout the year. Hill and Hurley connect on that mentally and physically. Mike Krzyzewski jumped off the bench and put his hands down and said, "Take it easy, fellas. We don't need that right now."
Nice pass. Feldhouse. Mashburn. Duke ball. Grant Hill. And a squandered opportunity for Kentucky. Mashburn comes down with the loose ball. Dale Brown. Nope. Kentucky in the freezer.
The reason is they're living by the jump shot and they're going down by the jump shot. They have to get Mashburn more involved, particularly inside.
And not that way. He picks up the foul. His 3rd. Fourth team foul.
Kentucky fouls over 24. That's his 3rd personal.
Just have a sense Kentucky's got to get some points on the board quickly. This thing could get out of hand. It's only 6 right now, but you feel Duke in control, very much so.
Well, I'll tell you, the thought in the back of Rick Pitino's mind is that the continued pressure would start to wear the Duke players down, and that's where his team thrives in the second half, because of that pressure.
Do you think it will?
The way it stands right now, Duke has been able to do pretty much what they've wanted. They've turned the ball over, but it hasn't fazed them. They still have their confidence.
Leitner.
And that's a smart team. Going to Leitner, knowing Mashburn picked up 3 and forcing Mashburn to play the D.
And at the other end, they get Christian Leitner with a foul.
We're taking a look at the last time down for Duke. Prior to this, Mashburn had picked up his 3rd foul, and Duke right away attacks him. And you see he's less than willing to get involved with Leitner.
And at the other end, they get the foul on Lang. That's his 3rd. So he and Thomas Hill both with 3 fouls, and quickly Thomas Hill gets ready to re-enter the game for Antonio Lang. Indiana, a big winner earlier today. Division II championship. Virginia Union over Bridgeport. And Virginia's women's team advances. Dale Brown at the free throw line. Leitner gets the rebound over Feldhouse. Intercepted by Mashburn. 6 turnovers for Hurley now. Alley-oop. Mashburn.
That's what you got to do. You got to get your big guy involved right now. Duke is not playing the type of defense that's really paying attention to him inside. Keep him honest.
5-point edge, 56-51, 15:25 to go in the game. Thomas Hill. Brian Davis. Big rebound, basket, and foul. And the foul is the 4th on John Pelfrey.
I tell you, you saw Rick Pitino motioning, don't watch the ball. As the shot goes up, every Kentucky head turns to watch the flight of the ball. And no one watches Brian Davis.
Martinez comes in with 4. Pelfrey goes to the bench with 4.
See, when you're playing defense and the shot goes up, if you're playing against a great rebounding team, offensive rebounding team, you've got to turn and check your man. The ball's going to come off the board, but if you got your man checked out, you're giving yourself a chance to get to it by keeping yourself between the man you're guarding and the ball. Kentucky never looked at Davis.
And I think that is exactly what Rick Pitino was telling John Pelfrey. All right, it's not how you spell it, it's how you pronounce it. And I think most folks now it's called Krzyzewski. But John Pelfrey is one of those in foul trouble for the Kentucky team. Martinez also with 4. Woods and Mashburn with 3. For Duke, Lang and Thomas Hill, 3 each.
And that foul trouble is a result of the pressure Kentucky tries to apply and Duke's ability to attack, constantly attack offensively, pressuring the defensive player into making a move.
Brown, baseline drive comes up short. Grant Hill gets rid of it.
There's still contact there, and I just got to believe that you got to make some kind of call on the shooter. Somebody's getting an advantage on that type of contact.
Duke has not led by double-digit numbers. They have a chance to do so right now. 59-51 with 14:22 to go. Thomas Hill. Brian Davis stripped to the ball. And somehow Brian Davis comes up with it. The tip still won't go. Basket interference. Kentucky ball.
Talk about the battle of the boards inside. It's an awful lot of contact. And then Grant Hill plays volleyball, but by himself.
Brian Davis has lost a contact. There was a lot of contact, and he lost one.
Where is it? See it?
Yeah, he said, where is it? Can you see it? I can.
Exactly. in these days of the soft lens. You haven't seen this happen in a long, long time.
I think he found it. I'm not sure. Did he?
I don't think he did. I think they're going for the backup pair.
Yes, they are.
So that crunch that you hear next.
Christian Laker, number 32, returns to the Duke University lineup.
Brian Davis will go for the auxiliary contact. He's out now. Cherokee Parks in. It's Parks and Leitner, Thomas Hill, Grant Hill, and Bobby Hurley for Duke. Darren Feldhouse, number 12. Dale Brown, Sean Woods. Whistle, foul on Cherokee Parks down underneath, away from the ball. Kentucky, not a good rebounding team. And look what's happened so far in the ballgame.
Well, the offensive boards where Duke has 9, that's what Kentucky can control a lot better. They haven't done a great job of blocking out, and when you're not a good rebounding team, you have to focus on the fundamentals.
59-51. Pace of this second half much less frantic than we saw in the first half. They look for Mashburn, and they throw it right to Leitner. Woods with the turnover. Rebound in the hands of Dale Brown. Brian Davis continues to get a new set of contacts put in. Oh, what a shot. Sean Woods. And he's got 12 points. He is playing quite well.
But Kentucky needs a score, obviously, so they can apply their pressure.
Bobby Hurley comes across the timeline. Said yesterday he enjoys playing teams that press because it keeps him more involved in the ball game. Hill, Leitner. Why not? 3. 62-53. Off the glass at the other end. Sean Woods again with 14 points.
But it's going to be tough if you have to trade baskets with Duke. You have to be able to stop them, turn them over. Kentucky in the first few minutes of this ball game had Duke off balance, but Duke has regained their composure and their balance.
Yes, they have. Hurley's got 9 assists. Cherokee Parks with a basket. Woods, seeing Hurley flash in, tried to dish it off. It goes out of bounds, but Kentucky will inbound. Time has been called.
Back in the Spectrum where Duke has a 9-point lead, but yesterday Rick Pitino showed that he has a sentimental streak. He took his team over to the Palestra, which is of course one of the cathedrals of college basketball. He said that he wanted to give them a sense of history. All the great teams plus the Big Five have played there over the past 40 years. Vern, he'd still like to make a little history here today.
Well, right now he's got to solve the problem, Leslie, because Jamil Martinez has just fouled out. And it was a cheapie.
Well, they call a blocking foul on Martinez moving on the pick. And you speak of history, Kentucky's going to have to find a way to stop Duke. They have to adjust their defense to make some stops, otherwise they'll be history.
And Duke is trying to make history itself, become the first team to repeat as NCAA national champion since '73, when the UCLA bunch under John Wooden accomplished that. So Martinez is out. Travis Ford and Dale Brown are the guards. Aminu Timberlake is in at center now, number 25. He's a freshman from Chicago. Feldhouse and Mashburn for Kentucky. Belfry stays on the bench with 4 fouls. Grant Hill back in the lineup for Duke with Hurley, Leitner, Antonio Lang, and Brian Davis. Hurley. And we have our first double-digit lead of the ball game. It's up to 12.
And Hurley was on that spot again, right in front of the basket in three-point land.
ladies from Cameron have come to the Spectrum. And they're hoping to go to the Met in Minneapolis, St. Paul next week. Duke up by 12, 67-55. Sean Woods and Feldhouse with Mashburn, Timberlake, and Dale Brown for Kentucky. There's Mashburn. Hurley doing the job defensively, but they find Dale Brown underneath. Woods did.
They just couldn't sustain the defense long enough. Duke did. They were about to get a 5-second call.
Feldhouse with the steal. Mashburn for three. Yes! Huge basket. Duke timeout.
Watch Brian Davis in the circle try to receive, turn, and go in an effort to really attack the Kentucky pressure. But he doesn't meet the ball.
And they've got another turnover for three. It's a 4-point game. An 8-0 run by Kentucky. 2 threes by Jamal Mashburn.
Say that timeout was supposed to remind the Duke players to play fundamentally sound.
Bobby Hurley spots up for a three. That's his 4th three of the ball game. Mashburn, the double team. He beats it.
That's why you want to get this guy involved.
Mashburn with 21, including the last 8 Kentucky points. Duke is almost matching him field goal for field goal from three-point country, though.
And Bobby Hurley's been the one. If Rick Pitino's plan is to make Hurley shoot, he's got to make him shoot off balance, make him move off those spots.
9:15 to go. What's Kentucky doing defensively? They've got Sean Woods, man on Hurley.
Well, they're denying Hurley the ball, making somebody else handle it.
Foul on Timberlake.
And they fouled him with 2 seconds left on the shot clock. That defense is working because Duke is a little bit out of sync without Hurley handling the ball.
Duke hitting 66% for the game. They do have 15 turnovers, but they're out rebounding Kentucky by 12. Leitner with 15 points. Mashburn leads all scorers with 21. And just to get you abreast of where we are in the ball game as the free throw is about to take place from Grant Hill. Kentucky jumped out 20-12, and then Duke went on a 15-2 run midway through the first half. They were up by 5 at the half, up by as many as 12 just a couple of minutes ago, and Grant Hill misses the free throw. Then Mashburn hit a couple of threes, and now Kentucky has a chance to cut into that lead even more. Woods. Duke in transition. Hurley with the dish, basket, yes, and the foul.
Hey, this is how Duke takes your heart. You know, on the turnover, the lightning quick, fast break, and then the emphasis. You know, you build momentum, and right away they take it away from you with a play like that.
Transition defense, one of the keys in the ball game for Kentucky. Bobby Hurley now has 10 assists. Thomas Hill completes the three-point play, and the lead is back to 8. Another one. Dale Brown. Leitner calls for it. There's a double on Leitner. And Leitner kicked it. And tackle on Christian Laettner. Stepped right in his chest.
That was a pretty darn nasty situation. I don't know if he did it on purpose or not.
Yeah, he did. Pretty obvious.
That is his second personal foul, team's ninth. There is a technical foul called on Duke's number 32, Christian Laettner.
Laettner with the technical. First, he'll shoot 2 free throws.
Is a contact technical. That is the team's sixth.
Foul was called on Timberlake, so Laettner will shoot 2. These are the personal fouls. And he gets 2 for 2. Now will come Kentucky with the technical. Let's go back and look at it again. Watch Timberlake and Laettner.
All right, you see the play right there. Yeah, that was
pretty obvious.
That was obvious. I wasn't sure. I saw him back up and didn't see him step, but from that replay, that was intentional.
Richie Farmer misses the free throw. Gets 1 of 2. Now Feldhaus will inbound for Kentucky.
So you got to kind of wonder what was going through the guy's mind. He had just gotten fouled. Opportunity to go to the line. His team is up.
Well, it certainly didn't enhance the image for Christian Laettner to pull a play like that, a stunt like that. Steal, Thomas Hill, early. They will break your heart. My, are they a resilient team.
See, the problem Rick Pitino has is that he can't put John Pelfrey back in the ball game.
Richie Farmer gets called on this one, and that sends Pitino into a slight orbit.
The point I was going to make is Pelfrey has to get back in the ball game to give Kentucky another ball handle, and he's just entered right now. You know, Rick Pitino's got some people out there who aren't accustomed to handling the ball against this type of pressure. He's been put in a tough situation by the foul situation. And that's what he's so ticked off about. He doesn't believe some of the calls he's been seeing.
Second foul on Farmer, 10th team foul, so Duke for the duration now shoots 2. And there's 7:40 remaining. I think this team doesn't shoot free throws. Coming into this ball game, 945 team free throw attempts. That's more than 400 more than the opposition. They do get to the line, and the lead is back to 10.
Combination of not only constantly attacking and being the aggressor, but also being number 1.
Yes. Dale Brown. Oh, yes! My gracious, what a nice play.
And you know what that does? Not only does that put points on the board, but emotionally it keeps Kentucky up. Just when you think that they're going to give up, they're going to lay on the canvas and go out for the count, they come back at you. And plays like this are certainly an emotional lift.
Foul was called on Bobby Hurley. Free throw is good for Brown. Lead is 7. Time is 7:25 remaining. Winner gets Indiana next Saturday in Minneapolis. Still. Follow is good from Laettner. He's got 21. Turnaround jumper over Grant Hill. Mashburn. 5-second call. Kentucky ball.
Well, one of the problems Duke is having, or at least had on that inbounds pass, is that Laettner was too close to the backboard. He was under the backboard, so in the event a guy for his team had broken open long, he wouldn't have been able to hit him because he would have thrown it against the backboard.
Grant Hill defending Mashburn. Leitner keeping his eye on him. Belfry is fouled by Brian Davis. Third foul on Davis, 7th team foul, so 1-1 now for the Kentucky Wildcats.
That's his third personal foul. Team's 8th. John Pelfrey, number 34, will be the team receiver for the Wildcats of Kentucky.
John Pelfrey gets the first. Coming up tomorrow, Memphis State, Cincinnati, our first regional final. That's in the Midwest from Kansas City. And then Michigan, Ohio State from Lexington. Second game of 4 o'clock tip. Winners will join Indiana and one of these two teams in the Final Four in Minneapolis next week.
Say, Grant Hill, you see him bringing the ball up now, giving Bobby Hurley a rest. Hill has had some experience at the point when Hurley was injured late this year during the regular season, and he did a pretty nice job. It slows the Duke attack, though.
There's Hurley crashing and dishing. Offensive call. Charging Hurley as Kentucky goes to the man-to-man defense, and they get the turnover.
Well, ultimately, Hurley is going to have to be the finish guy off the pass. That time he drives into trouble. But Duke is slowed down significantly with Hurley not handling it.
Bobby Hurley, 8 turnovers now to go with his 10 assists. 81-76. Nice backdoor cut. Dale Brown. The lead is down to 3. Well, we talked about the resiliency of this #1 Duke team. How about Mashburn of Kentucky? Feldhouse. Foul on Brown.
Rick Pitino applauding not only the defensive play, but also Feldhouse's shot. That wasn't a bad shot. That was one of those risks that you take to try to put the hammer down, tie this thing up, get the crowd jumping and emotional. It didn't go, but I think Rick Pitino would like to see his team take those kinds of risks at this point.
Brian Davis, number 23, will be the free throw
Feldhouse saying, my fault.
He has 2 shots.
At the line, Brian Davis shoots 2. That's only his second miss today. As a team, Duke is 18 of 23 from the free throw line. Davis for another. Kentucky ball. Woods. Brown with a foul. That's his 4th.
You know, you got to be careful. You get the momentum going. You don't want to give a team like Duke an easy opportunity. You have to make them work. And Kentucky's been doing well playing position defense without reaching too much. If you reach, you're going to get the foul call, and you're going to give Duke an opportunity to get 2, to pretty much steal 2 on the line.
Thomas Hill shoots 2 for Duke. We're tied at 81. Indiana's in the Final floor. They get the winner of this one. And what a game this has been. Antonio Lang will check back in for the Blue Devils now, replacing Thomas Hill. Mike Krzyzewski has called the timeout. 18,000 on hand at the Spectrum. Duke up by 2. The winner gets Indiana next Saturday in the Final Four in Minneapolis. Duke led by 12 with 11:14 remaining in the game, 67-55. Three-point range has brought Kentucky back in. They are 10 of 16 from three-point country in the ballgame. Entry pass, Mashburn. Got it.
Good setup right there, spreading the floor, letting Mashburn work the post by himself on a one-on-one with Leitner.
Sean Woods, he's got 4 fouls. So Martinez is on the bench with 5. Woods has 4, Pelfrey has 4, and Dale Brown has 4. And every time there's another foul, 2 more free throws for the Duke Blue Devils. This time it'll be Bobby Hurley at the line.
You know, Kentucky's been quick to the ball in the last couple of minutes, creating turnovers. But lately, they've been getting called for the reaches. And as I said before, you're bailing a team like Duke out. You're not making them work against the press by reaching that first time on the first pass.
Duke by 2. These two teams played in the national championship game in 1978 when Jack Givens had 41 points. That was a good one. This regional final is a dandy as well.
And Duke's gone to a zone right now, trying to change up just a little bit. And now they've gone right out of it.
Leitner gets the foul. That's 3 on Christian Leitner.
You know, Duke, known to be a tough man-to-man team, throughout this game, they've gone to a couple of tricky little defenses, having the guards play zone out front sometimes, playing zone and coming out of it in mid-defense in the half court. And that's given Kentucky some trouble.
We say none because no one has 4 fouls for Duke on the right side. Feldhaus misses the first. Well, a terrific game here, and we anticipate 2 more tomorrow. Memphis State and Cincinnati, 1:42 tip, and then Michigan, Ohio State, a 4 o'clock tip. Feldhaus gets 1 of 2, and it's a 1-point Duke lead, 4:29 remaining. Christian Leitner on the bench. It's Thomas Hill, Hurley, Grant Hill, Antonio Lang, and Brian Davis for Duke. Pelfrey, Woods, Brown, Mashburn, and Feldhaus for Kentucky. Woods with the contact, and it'll be Duke ball.
Well, what Duke is attempting to do, they're trying to run a play. They had a mismatch with Dale Brown on Antonio Lang, but they were trying to run something that was going to require some continuity if you see Christian Leitner back in the ballgame. Trying to take some time off the clock, make Kentucky sustain their defense, wear them out just a little bit.
Just a thought to file away in the final 4 minutes now. Mike Krzyzewski and the Blue Devils had used 2 of their timeouts. They have only 1 remaining. Kentucky has 2 left, should that become significant. Thomas Hill, beautiful. Terrific pass, Pelfrey to Feldhaus. Senior to senior, 2 of the kids who stuck it out for the Kentucky Wildcats. Grant Hill. Mashburn. And a chance for Kentucky
goes to show you that there is no time for celebration. Kentucky takes the lead, and Duke is right back at you. Good call by the officials. The ball had hit the board and still had a chance to go in.
89 all. Pelfrey. Brown with the rebound. Woods. Foul on Brian Davis.
Almost a great defensive play by Christian Laettner, extending himself to the fullest to thwart the back door.
That's his fourth personal foul.
You take a look at that, Laettner with the steal. And still Sean Woods quick enough to recover.
Sean Woods, number 91, is the coach shooter from the University of Kentucky.
4 fouls on Brian Davis. Sean Woods, the 3-year starter, at the line. That ties it. That puts them up by 1. 2, beg your pardon. It broke the tie and sent them up by 2. 91-89. Laettner. He'll shoot a couple. First foul on Feldhouse.
That's his first personal foul. Christian Laettner, number 32, will be the three-point shooter for the Blue Devils.
Laettner and Davis both with 4. Martinez is out. Pelfrey, Brown, and Woods with 4. Laettner shoots. He's perfect from the line today.
Now here's where the mind game comes in. Duke really hasn't been pushed throughout this tournament, and now they're one step away from the Final Four, and this is the toughest game they've had. Are they going to wilt? Or is it the mental aspect of the game, something they've commanded throughout this season? Is it going to leave them?
Woods threw it away.
By contrast, Kentucky, an overachieving team, you know, they're up against it as well. They have to have precise execution down the stretch, and that's mental pressure.
Here comes Hurley scooting through the Kentucky defense. Puts it back out to Hill, and they'll reset. 90 seconds remaining.
See Pelfrey there screaming, let's go, let's go.
Laettner with Mashburn defending. 18 on the shot clock. Thomas Hill. Yes! To Feldhouse. The final 15. Bobby Hurley. Timeout was called, I believe. Time was called with time remaining. Now, how much? Kentucky did call timeout. But they've yet to indicate how much time is going to be put back on the clock.
Well, certainly the signal for timeout was made by the Kentucky player. You could see the official acknowledge it. Whether or not he blew his whistle above this din remains to be seen, and there was certainly time left on the clock. My estimation, it looked about 2 seconds.
Now they're conferring with the alternate official, Bob Bedketter. They will put 0.8 of a second back on the clock.
Certainly saw the signal go up with about with a little more than 0.8. Whether or not he did that. See, Pelfrey, before they got possession, Pelfrey had already put his hand up. But the acknowledgement came at about 0.8.
And as we play the final 0.8 of a second, the significant sound is that of the horn. The game is over when the horn sounds. 93 all. Want to diagram the play for us?
No, but, you know, maybe Bobby Cremens from Georgia Tech, 0.8 of a second is a magic number for them.
Once again, here's Hurley's final shot. The rebound by Mashburn.
See, you see Pelfrey. Mashburn has possession. Pelfrey's signal with about 2 seconds left.
And Tom Clark, one of the officials, immediately signaled timeout. As soon as Pelfrey indicated he wanted the time, Tom Clark said, yes, you've got it.
But it was just that acknowledgement which translated into action by the official that took a little bit of time off.
Mashburn will inbound. He's got Brown, Feldhaus, Pelfrey, and Woods on the floor with him. Defensively for Duke, Leitner will guard the inbounds pass. Thomas Hill, Hurley, Grant Hill, and Brian Davis.
I think Kentucky's got to get the ball at least a half court to give themselves a chance, and also to prevent Duke from making a miraculous steal and layup. Interesting.
Certainly is. Tom Clark indicates that it was touched by Duke and should be Kentucky's ball. He's the official in the center of your screen right now. That's Charles Range.
And if in fact it was touched by Duke, Mike Krzyzewski was signaling that there should be no time on the clock.
At the end of regulation time, the Duke University versus 93, University of Kentucky Outlaws.
Not that a couple of tenths of a second would allow anybody to do anything. Take a look at the inbounds here. Now Pelfrey certainly acted as though you really couldn't tell from that angle whether Davis touched it or missed it. But Pelfrey believed that it was touched.
Well, and of course, the clock starts when the ball is touched. It was ruled that it was touched. Thus, the game is over. And we go to overtime. .93. 18,000 on hand. Breathless right now at the Spectrum in Philadelphia. This gritty Kentucky team down 67-55 with 11-14 remaining in the ball game. with Martinez on the bench with 5 fouls and 2 others playing with 4, fought back by using the 3. They tied it up and forced it into overtime. And we begin the 5-minute overtime, 93 all.
I tell you, the greatest obstacle next to Duke that Kentucky has to overcome is their team foul situation. Key players like Pelfrey with 4 fouls.
Set the lineups on the court. Leitner, Hurley, Grant Hill, Thomas Hill, and Brian Davis. Kentucky ball. And it'll be Pelfrey and Feldhouse, Sean Woods, the 3 seniors, along with Dale Brown and Jamal Mashburn.
And in regulation, I alluded to the mental aspect of this game, particularly for Duke. Mike Krzyzewski likes to make this a game, you know, fun for his team, making it as though they were playing a tournament in each of the rounds.
Mashburn shot into the hands of Thomas Hill.
But when you're so close, no matter what the coach does to try to alleviate the pressure, you know, you've got to feel it, and Duke probably more so than Kentucky feels it. How they handle it remains to be seen.
Grant Hill has to alter the shot. It won't fall. And Dale Brown comes down with the ball for the Wildcats of Kentucky. Pelfrey. Three-point Kentucky lead. Offensive foul.
I talked about the mental pressure on defense. Grant Hill stayed too long against Jamal Mashburn and didn't get out in time on Pelfrey. Here, Brian Davis tries to do it by himself.
That is 5 fouls on the senior co-captain. He calls his teammates together at center court for a final word before he heads to the bench.
2 uncharacteristic mental errors.
Antonio Lang takes his place. Taken away by Hurley, but then controlled again by Kentucky. 10 on the shot clock. Woods, quick hands of Thomas Hill. Leitner back to Hurley.
And again, normally Duke would have attacked that basket and taken it, but they're a little tentative right now.
Hurley. Grant Hill, Hurley again. We're tied.
That's the kind of play that Duke excels in.
Pelfrey takes Hill in, gets another one. He has played with a total lack of fear for the 5th foul. He's had 4 for most of the game.
And you play like that when you feel as though you have nothing to lose. You got no pressure.
2 minutes to go in the first overtime. Leitner guarded by Feldhouse. Leitner's playing with 4. And Leitner will shoot. Jamal Mashburn has picked up his 4th foul.
Kentucky fouls on the 24, Jamal Mashburn. That's his 4th personal foul. Leitner at the line.
97-98. There is Christian Leitner's mother.
She's as cool as her son.
.25 for Leitner, tie ball game. Woods takes Hurley. Sends up short. Leitner rebound.
I think Woods had in the back of his mind to hit Mashburn out in three-point territory, changed his mind in midair, but never really got under the shot. You got to make crisp decisions in this type of game.
On a play for Leitner, top of the post. Top of the key, rather. Timeout, Duke. 54.5 seconds remaining. We're tied at 98. Coming up tonight on CBS following basketball, the CBS Saturday movie, The Dream Team. This theatrical comedy stars Michael Keaton, Christopher Lloyd, Peter Boyle, and Stephen Furst. They won the national championship in March a year ago, defeating Kansas. They have been ranked #1 in the country 18 weeks in a row. They come in as the #1 seed. And the Duke Blue Devils now find themselves tied 98 all, 54.5 seconds to go in overtime against a gritty bunch of Kentucky Wildcats. 4 seniors for Kentucky: Pelfrey, Farmer, Feldhouse, and Woods. And the sophomore Jamal Mashburn.
You know, it's hard to really detect what Duke is going to do because they have so many weapons, but they got to really take a little time off the clock unless you can get Leitner down on the post one-on-one.
12 seconds on the shot clock. Dale Brown goes for the steal, doesn't get it. Duke ball, 5 seconds to shoot.
Kentucky has had a habit of fouling with a few seconds left on the clock, bailing the Duke offensive player out now.
Grant Hill inbounds. Leitner. Oh, my goodness! How did he get the shot off? Leitner for 2. Mashburn. Fouled. He'll shoot 1.
We told you at the beginning of this telecast, Mashburn and Leitner, 2 big men of the 90s.
Rick Pitino in his 3rd year as head coach at Kentucky. Mashburn to break the tie. Pitino wants a timeout. Kentucky by 1. 19.6 seconds left in overtime. Jamal Mashburn hit a field goal and was fouled with 19.6 seconds left. Hit the free throw. That put Kentucky up by 1. Both teams have 1 timeout left. The possession arrow, Duke. Grant Hill will inbound. Feldhouse guards it. They find Hurley. Now they find Leitner. And he is fouled by Mashburn. 5 fouls on Jamal Mashburn.
Kentucky fouls on number 24, Jamal Mashburn. That is his fifth personal foul. That is one of the personal fouls on the
28 points, 10 rebounds for the sophomore from New York City. And Duke will put a 3-time All-American at the free throw line.
You know, you couldn't want a better competitor on the free throw line than Christian Laettner. You almost have to assume he's going to make both of them. But if Kentucky inbounds the ball and they get it into their front court, they got to make the loss of Mashburn work for them. You know, they've got some three-point shooters out there. They've got a lot of ball handlers out there who can penetrate and dish.
Christian Laettner has made his last 17 free throws in a row, including 8 tonight. Duke by 1. Timeout, Kentucky.
You know, Rick Pitino wanted to call a timeout. He didn't like what he saw defensively from Duke. It's a big risk, though. His team had possession. They had it in their front court. Now you have to inbound the ball against a Duke team, which is probably the best denied team in the country. So Rick Pitino, in an effort to try to get something set, has great confidence in the person who's going to inbound the ball and his team's ability to execute to get someone open to receive, because you never want to give up that type of opportunity.
The defending national champions lead by 1 against a Kentucky team on probation and out of the NCAA tournament the last 2 years. But what a reemergence in the national game they have made. Kentucky out of timeouts. We have 7.8 seconds left. Jamal Mashburn is on the bench with 5 fouls. So that certainly changes the options for Rick Pitino and the Kentucky Wildcats. The winner gets Indiana next Saturday. If it's Duke, it'll be a rematch of a 1987 regional semifinal game, which Indiana won 88-82.
We talked about the loss of Mashburn, and it certainly does change Pitino's options, but it may expand them because he's got to put someone out there who's capable of handling the ball. And hopefully he'll match up someone like that against Christian Laettner, who may be, of the 5 Duke players, the slowest guy afoot. And if you can match him up with the guy handling the ball and be able to create a situation off the dribble, get one of your jump shooters open, you're going to make it work.
So it comes down to the 4 seniors who stuck around for Kentucky. Richie Farmer will inbound it, the pride of Clay County. Darren Feldhouse and John Pelfrey are in. Sean Woods and Dale Brown, a JC transfer. 7.8 seconds remaining. Woods. Yes!
Man.
How did he find the courage to take that kind of shot?
You know, it went in, okay? But that was a terrible shot. terrible. I mean, here he is working against a 6'11" guy. Not your highest of percentage shots. But as I mentioned, it goes in. What can you say?
Watch Jamal Mashburn. And I think back to Rick Pitino at the press conference yesterday talking about Sean Woods. Watch the Duke bench react. He said of Sean Woods, he became a leader on this team this year when he realized he wasn't a scorer.
Well, fortunate for Rick Pitino, a little amnesia for Sean Woods.
2.1 seconds left. No team has repeated as NCAA champions since UCLA did it in 1973. Will the dream die here for Duke?
And you know, John Pelfrey was calling for that ball when Woods had it and started his penetration. Woods had his mind made up. He was going to make it or miss it. The game was put in his hands.
Rick Pitino said of his 4 seniors when asked why they stuck around with the school going on probation, nobody else wanted them. They had no place else to go. Pelfrey, Feldhaus, and Farmer grew up in Kentucky. Sean Woods in Indianapolis.
You know, one of the things I've seen Duke do in the past in situations like this is try for the quick pass to half court and call a quick timeout so they can get in better shooting range.
There's the pass to Leitner. Puts it up. Yes!
We talked about a quick pass to half court, but with people playing behind Christian Leitner.
Grant Hill, whose dad was a football player and scored on a halfback pass 2 days after he was born, finds Christian Leitner with a 50-foot pass, and he puts it in from 15 for the game winner.
Take a look at the Duke reaction. And there's the contrast.
Right now, let's go to Leslie Visser.
Well, there were a couple of miracles apparently left in the Duke program. Christian, first to you, congratulations. What were you trying to do on the last shot?
Well, thank you. We just started a good play. Grant made a great pass, and when it went in, I couldn't believe it. That happened to me twice in a career, and it was just incredible.
Did you feel he wouldn't foul you? You were safe taking the shot?
I thought if I could create some distance, they wouldn't foul me, no, because we've been shooting our free throws real well all day.
Tremendous effort, Mike, throughout the whole. What did you want?
I'll tell you what, just to say something first of all about the Kentucky kids. What a tremendous, tremendous effort. And it wasn't a game that anybody lost. Whoever had the ball last won. And we were really lucky, and we beat a very a very determined and a great basketball team.
One of the most emotional wins for you?
Yeah, it was I don't know if CBS could get any better games than this. It was an unbelievable game where kids made great plays.
Thank you. On to the Final Four for the 5th straight time. Back to you.
All right, Leslie. No, Mike, we couldn't get any better games. Jamal Mashburn and Christian Leitner are Chevrolet players of the game. Leitner with the game winner. He was 10 of 10 from the field in the second half. 31 points, 7 rebounds. And it'll be Duke and Indiana next Saturday. Tomorrow, Michigan State, Ohio State, and Memphis State, Cincinnati. Final score again, 104-103. Duke, let's catch our breath. Here's Pat.
Catch our breath. We're trying to do that here in New York. Wow. Reminder to stay tuned tonight for CBS Saturday movie, The Dream Team. Tomorrow starts your sports viewing day with CBS Sports Sunday's coverage of the American Ski Classic. Then at 1 o'clock Eastern, we'll head out for the last 2 stops on the road to the Final Four. Memphis State and Cincinnati will tip off the Midwest Regional Final at 1:42 Eastern. Michigan and Ohio State will follow in the Southeast at 4 o'clock Eastern. 2 teams are in, Indiana and Duke. 2 to go. Until tomorrow, I'm Pat O'Brien in New York. For all of us here at CBS, wow, wow, wow. Good night, everybody.
Puts it up.